And now we head on to our first conversation for this morning. Nigeria's Federal Competition Consumer Protection Commission, in collaboration with the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, National Information Technology Development Agency, and the Nigerian Police Force raided some illegal financial institutions operating in Lagos, Nigeria last week. The raid was in reaction to consumers' complaints about the financial firms' malpractices. Let's talk to Inaya Wad in our competition and consumer protection lawyer, member of the UK Centre for Competition Policy, joining us on Business Morning. Great to have you.
Hi, Laddie. Nice to
Yeah,
have you
so,
as well.
yeah, so quite an interesting turn of events, with some of these loan companies. But for you, are they really infringing on the rights of users of their service?
Um, First of all, I will start by maybe by giving a background of what loan sharks are. Loan sharks are usually money lenders who charge higher than normal interest rate, and they usually operate illegally and they are not licensed. So these sort of companies they target vulnerable persons, those who are low income earners, and those who are in financial hardship. And most times, these categories of persons have like they're not well enlightened financial wise. So if you are taking a loan from Loan Shark, you are certainly going to get a loan on bad terms and pay huge interest. You'll be harassed, you'll be bullied, and you'll be threatened if you don't pay back. And such threats will make you to it could pressure you to borrow more and more. But needless to say that through the operations of these companies, providing short-term loans, they contribute to general economic activities, which is not negligible. But however, to the extent that these companies use the data of their consumers in a way which is contrary to the law, that's by violating the privacy and adopting tactics like threats and defamations, then there is a probable cause to believe that the user's rights are being violated.
When you're signing up on these apps, they normally tell you that you're going to be having to let them into your contact list, and you check a lot of all those boxes even at that.
Yes, well, while we acknowledge the risks that are taken by these companies, it is a basic principle and common knowledge glo- globally that the first thing every entrepreneur should do before you set up a business is to understand the regulatory landscape and the architecture. That's to understand the laws which regulate the business in a particular area, and also to know which licenses do you need to obtain before you operate. So there is no greater risk than operating a business without a license, and also in breaching the law by engaging in unfair trade deals, given that the consumers accepted this this
Even when the consumers
terms.
accept the terms.
Yeah, given that these consumers accept this terms, but there is also the obligation on the company to actually explain the implication of these terms to the consumer and also ensure that the consumer actually understands what these terms mean. For example, when I first came to the UK, I went to the bank to for me to open an account. The staff had to go line by line on the terms to explain it to me and make sure that I understood it before I signed. So even if I I agree to a term which is not legal in law, such a term is is actually voidable in law. So and also to the extent that these companies operate without license and they are not regulated, it makes the loan to be an illegal loan which is not enforceable in law. Maybe this could be why these companies are not going through the legal means to recover their loans. Rather, they employ threats, they employ, information and other tactics which are not legal in law. And also, Ladi, under the new um, Mafia Act, there
Right.
is a penalty for operating a financial institution without a license, which is that a company is liable to a fine that is not less than 10 million and must be double the amount it has collected from the borrowers.
Right. But
So,
how else? how else can these companies actually, get their monies back? They don't get any collateral, giving out these loans. It's quite risky for these companies.
Well, this sort of companies, to for them to get their money back, they are operating at a risk because if they were licensed, and they were operating under the law, then they have a legal cost, they have a legal recourse with the courts. But if they are unlicensed, they're actually operating on a risk, and that is the risk that they will have to bear.
All right. What about customers that want to seek a redress over alleged defamation and blackmail? What are the options here?
Okay, for the consumers who want to seek redress, Section 146 of the FCCPA Act, that's the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Act, it provides an aggrieved customer the following options. The first option is to refer the matter with the lending company and trying to resolve it with the company. Then when that is not resolved, then it can approach the sector regulator. That's the regulator who regulates that particular sector. Like we have a recent case where NITDA fined one of these loan companies 10 million for breach of the rights of the consumer. But where the sector regulator does not resolve this complaint, then the consumer could file a complaint with the FCCPC, that's the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, which has the power to investigate this case, or it could make, if it finds the probable cause of action has occurred, then it could make an order. But where it finds that there are really no issues, then it will not refer the matter any further. It will close the case. However, this 3 steps does not preclude a customer from approaching a court of law in seeking redress or seeking for compensation for the alleged breach of rights, maybe for defamation, for cyberbullying, for threats. So there are legal procedures for a customer to seek redress, either from the regulator or at the court of law.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So, I'd like you to hold your thoughts for now. I'm going to come back to you. I'm going to cross over quickly to Abuja to see what's happening with the peaceful protest at the National Assembly gates in Abuja, right there, over the rejection of some bills seeking gender equality in the country. And after rejecting about 5 bills, I hear 3 have been taken into consideration at this point. Well, we have Kayla Magua right there. She's been tracking, what's happening. Good morning, Kayla. Great to have you. Hello, Kayla. All right, Kayla. So have the lawmakers, good morning. Have the lawmakers been coming to speak to the women?
Yes, hello, Laddie, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Did you hear my question?
Not today. In fact, by the time we got here at about 8:30 a.m. Yes, I did. We got here at about 8:30 a.m. and we saw that the gates were actually open. Cars were moving in and out of the gates. So we're wondering if the protest was going to happen. Remember, they've been on recess, really. They stopped the protest on Thursday. We didn't have any protest on Friday, of course, because the lawmakers don't sit on Fridays. And this Monday, they didn't sit as well. So Friday till Monday, the protesters had been on a break. But at the time when they arrived, around 9 a.m., we saw the women started cordoning off this whole area, and then they started with their light exercise, and they're trying to get themselves together so they can start their march. So the protest is on, and this is day 8 of the protest, but so far no lawmaker has come to speak to them today. At least last week we saw a lot of lawmakers coming to make it clear that, oh, in our case, we actually didn't vote against you, or we are standing with you. So we had a few lawmakers do that last week, but none for today yet. The women are still here, and we're looking out to see who's going to come and speak to them today. We've had people from the EU, we've had people from the UN come speak to these women, but we'll be watching to see who comes to talk to them today. And we do have a few areas where we'd like to ask them questions, because last week when they went off on Thursday, they said they were going to start mobilizing at the local levels. So they said we were going to picket the campaign offices of the lawmakers who voted against the women bills. And I want to find out from the women today if that has started, and also to find out from them if this Ekiti election, because we did hear that there are about 2 women who are vying for governorship position in Ekiti State. This move that the women said they were going to start last week, where they were going to vote women during the elections, is the Ekiti election going to be the litmus test of that? Just to find out a few of those things, but we'll be getting to that shortly. Right now, the women are getting ready for their match, Ladi.
Are you hearing anything about the remaining 2 bills?
Nothing at all. Nothing has been said. I think maybe that's the reason why the protest keeps coming up. And sometimes it feels like it's a repetition of what they're doing every day. But it's because nothing has been said to the women at all. All they know, where the information to the protesters ended, was where they said the House of Representatives was going to take a look at revisit 3 of those 5 bills. Nothing has been said about the other 2, and nothing has been said from the Senate on whether they're going to be doing the same thing. So it's basically, they're watching to see how the lawmakers, respond to these threats that they're making, because they're saying, look, we're going to keep pushing, we're going to keep, threatening them in one way or the other. We're going to go and mobilize at their wards, get the women in their localities, because according to these protesters, the major people who vote during elections are women. So they're thinking, we're going to see if we can, get the women at the ward level to actually, start to, vote against these particular lawmakers. The threat is that they will not allow these people back. So I want to see how much mobilization has been done in that regard. But as for the remaining 2 bills, nothing has been said from the House of Representatives, and nothing has been said at all on any of the bills from the Senate.
All right, thank you so much, Kayla. We'll come back to you later on for more updates. That was Kayla Megwa right there, Channel TV correspondent right there in Abuja, covering the peaceful protests happening at the National Assembly gates. All right, now let's get back to our conversation. We still have Iyinaya Uwadi right there, member UK Center for Competition Policy. Iyinaya, great, thank you for staying on. So we're still talking about consumer protection, right here in Nigeria. So tell me, what's the role, of regulators when it comes to, these kind of companies?
Yeah. For the regulator is a very, very key. Is a very, very key component of consumer protection, because without the regulator, the consumer will be left at his or her own peril. But ordinarily, markets are expected to function on their own. However, where the market fails to operate accordingly, then regulatory intervention is necessary to correct the situation. The current challenge we're having in consumer protection landscape with the interventions of regulators like the NIFDA and the FCCPC, and also the police, their role is to crack down on these illegal lenders, those who are operating without licenses, and also ensure that anyone who wants to engage in these businesses have license. Because if we can recall that these loan sharks gained more prominence in 2020 during the lockdown, when people really needed short-term loans and all that. But the attempts were very, very unreasonable, and consumers complained about their high rates and how they go about threatening them and all that. So basically, consumers need to be protected. That is the role of the regulator. And the unlicensed lenders, they should be investigated and prosecuted diligently to set example and for deterrence purposes. And also the current enforcement by the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission shows that the owners of these companies are not Nigerians, because from the recent conversation that Channel TV had with Mr. Drukera, he mentioned something like that. So if the owners of these companies are not Nigerians, how come non-Nigerians are processing the data of Nigerians? Non-Nigerians are hosting the data of Nigerians. Non-Nigerians are actually operating illegally in Nigeria. And if they can go to the extent of declaring a defaulter dead, who knows what next they may do, and who knows what what they are
quite,
doing with our data.
quite incredible, quite incredible. All right, Inaya Uwadi, member UK Center for Competition Policy. Thank you so much for coming on the program. I hope these loan sharks don't resurface after all of this. Thank you so much.